Hey friends, welcome back. Are we ready to do our first makeup tutorial? Let's do some makeup to cover up these eye bags. I've been up since 4 in the morning. We definitely need some makeup to finish off the rest of this day. And do I have any plans to do or go anywhere with this makeup on? No, but I will be sitting in my bed doing psychology homework. So let's get started. So the first makeup tutorial I'm going to be following is by Sabrina. I will put up her TikTok right here. I was going to do a different creator, but I stumbled across her video when I was searching for a tutorial to do last night, and I thought her base and everything looked amazing, so I wanted to try and see if I can recreate what she's doing in this video. So let's get started. So of course I don't have every single product that she uses in her video, but I have different products by different brands but in the same form that I'm just going to be using in this video because, you know, we're balling on a budget, and this time around I couldn't go out and buy some new products to try, but hopefully one of these tutorials I'll be able to buy some products that these people use. But we're just going to follow step by step what she does, and hopefully we look just as good as she does. Okay, of course the first thing we had to do was clip back our hair. Check. And then she goes in with her skin prep, which is the Bioma Milky Toner and then the e.l.f. Thirst Burst Drops. So I did my skincare how I normally do it. If you want to see how I do my skincare, you should go to my last video on my channel. The second step she goes in with is primer, and she uses the NYX Face Glue Grippy Primer. So I don't have that either, but I do have the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer with the 4% niacinamide, so I'm just going to go in with that today. Now that we're all primered up and a little bit sticky on our face, she goes in with the next step, which is foundation. She uses the Lumi Matte Maybelline foundation. I don't have that either, but I do have two different foundations. I have the L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum, which is my everyday foundation I use, but then I also have the L'Oreal True Match Regular Foundation, so I think I'm going to go in with this one today. Now, with putting on the foundation, she looks like she uses a very little amount and then dabs it around her face and kind of rubs it in just a little bit with her fingers before going in with a brush. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Kind of looking like a ghost. This shade is definitely a little light for me. Now I understand why I don't use this every day. Anyways, she only goes in with a brush, but it's not sitting too well on my face, so I'm gonna go back in with a dry sponge. So okay, after going in with that beauty sponge, I'm not loving this foundation very much. It is peeling a little bit on my face in areas like around my eye right here, and then a little bit on my mouth area, but that just could be because of my mustache. And now the next step, she goes in with concealer, and she uses the NYX Bare With Me concealer. Again, I do not have that. However, I do have multiple other concealers. I have 3 different concealers that I'm going to pick from to choose for my concealer today. The first is the Revolution IRL Filter Finish in the shade C4. Then again, the Revolution brand in Skin Silk Under Eye Brightening and Concealer in the shade Fair Cool. And then the last one I have is this e.l.f. Flawless Brightening Concealer in the shade Fair 15W. So I think I'm going to go in with this Revolution Skin Silk Under Eye Brightener and Concealer. The 2 spots she puts it on is under her eyes and right next to her mouth, so I put it exactly where she put it, and then she goes in with a dry beauty blender. Then the next step she goes in with is cream contour. She goes in with the Physician Formula's double-sided cream contour and then cream blush stick. However, I do not have that. However, I do have the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Bronzer and Contour, and then I also have the L'Oreal Lumi Liquid Blush, so I'm going to be using both of these. She first goes in with contour, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go in with my e.l.f. contour in the shade Fair. After contour, she goes in with the cream blush, again by Physicians Formula. I do not have that, but we do have the Lumi Liquid Blush by L'Oreal, so that's exactly what we're going to use, and this is in the shade Dewy Bright Pink. This is my face with all the liquid and cream products on. Next, she goes in with powder, and she uses the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Setting Powder. I do not have that, however, I do have two different other types of setting powders, loose setting powders. I have the e.l.f. HD Loose Setting Powder in the shade Translucent, and then I also have the Revolution Rose Baking Powder in the shade Rose. I also have the Airspun Loose Face Setting Powder, and she looks like she goes in with a powder that is the same skin tone as her skin tone, so I'm going to go in with this one because this is the only colored setting powder I have other than this pink one and then this translucent one. So we're going to go in with this one first. She goes in with a beauty blender and taps out the creases underneath her eyes before she goes in with a powder puff and the loose setting powder. So let's do that. After setting her under eyes, she goes in and sets around her mouth and her forehead with the same loose setting powder that she used underneath her eyes. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Next, she goes in with powdered bronzer, and she uses the NYX Buttermelt Bronzer. I do not have the NYX Buttermelt Bronzer, but I do have this unknown, unnamed bronzer I bought from Marshall's at least over a year ago. So we're going to go in with that. After that, she goes in with powder blush, and she uses the Essence Baked Blush. However, I do not have that. I do, however, have the NYX Buttermelt Blush in the shade You Know Butta, so I'm just going to use that. I actually don't really like this blush. The last time I used it, it was super, super patchy on my skin, but I'm going to give it a second chance because everybody loves these blushes. So let's go in with that. Next, she goes in with highlighter. I do not, however, own any highlighter, so I won't be participating in that step. Then she goes in with the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer. Again, I don't unfortunately have any brow products. I don't actually typically do my brows. That would have been one product I would have probably bought for this tutorial, but again, we're pinching pennies around here, so unfortunately I'm just gonna skip that step. Next, she goes in with mascara, and she uses the L'Oreal Lash Paradise. I, however, do not have that, but I do have the e.l.f. Lash and Roll Mascara, the Essence Lash Princess Mascara, and then the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara. So I'm going to be using one of these for my mascara today. I think we're going to go in with the Essence Lash Princess, the primer and the regular mascara. I would have used the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara to, you know, stay in the same realm as L'Oreal since she uses a L'Oreal mascara. However, I do not like the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara, so I will not be using that today. The next step is she dips into an eyeshadow palette and creates a small little brown wing on her eyelid. So we're gonna do that. Last, she goes in with a lip combo. She uses the Maybelline lip liner and a Essence lip oil. I don't have either one of those products, but I do have several other lip products. I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury lip liner in Iconic Nude and then the ColourPop lip oil in Skinny Dip. And that is Sabrina's makeup tutorial on me. I will give a up close of what my makeup looks like. However, I think the makeup tutorial from Sabrina was beautiful. It was well executed and a definitely easy makeup tutorial to follow step by step. And I'd say I look pretty good. Thank you so much for watching this week's video. I hope you guys come back next week for another tutorial. Maybe we'll try out a new makeup product. Maybe we'll compare makeup brands. Who knows? But come back next week to find out. Bye, y'all.